Mr. Musa Rafsanjani joins us now. He's the Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, and he's also the head of Transparency International in Nigeria. Thank you so much for speaking with us all the way from New York, Mr. Rafsanjani. It's a good thing that you can join us this morning.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure that you've been watching with very keen interest developments in Nigeria, especially with the screening of the new INEC chairman. What was your own perception of him on the floor yesterday, given all that he said?
Thank you very much. Although what civil society have been advocating based on the Ways report, which is aimed to help to reform and strengthen electoral process in Nigeria and to restore more confidence and ensure the fact that INEC truly is independent, has not been, accepted by President Bola Tinubu, which is to allow Judicial Council to put some nomination of credible, competent, qualified Nigerians. But since the president has decided, to nominate fraud, there's nothing you can do now, because already the Council of State, the National Assembly have already, confirmed him. My impression was, he came with the actually determination, with the innocent zeal and commitment, and he is determined to do the work if he is given the opportunity. He's very confident, about what he was saying and what he wants to do. We can only, support, him to ensure that the electoral body is strengthened and is able to, carry the mandate given to him. So this is the only, thing that we can do at this point, in time, because already he has been confirmed, and there's need, for all Nigerians to provide the necessary support for him to succeed, because we need to ensure that we restore confidence in our electoral process in Nigeria. We need to ensure that Nigerians believe in our institutions. We need to ensure that, all the previous problems relating to the electoral process in this country are addressed. But, I am, mindful of the fact that there are some forces that will not necessarily want him to succeed. They will be interfering. They will want to see how they can control. They will want to continue to see how they can sabotage the electoral process, and all the thing that he intends to do. So we as civil society, we will do everything possible to provide the necessary support to ensure that the electoral process is actually more transparent, more accountable and responsive, and the citizens continue to believe in our country, in our system. Because when the citizen completely, are losing confidence, or hope in the capacity or the ability or the neutrality of our public institutions and public officials, that's a big challenge. So we need to ensure that we restore that, trust, that, confidence between the government institutions and Nigerian people. And Nigerian people, are right for them to be suspicious on some of these issues, because many a times public officials in Nigeria appears to adopt the concept of deception, lies, and there is no even shame. Every now and then, people will say they will do X, Y, Z. Government will come up to say they will do this, and then they do the opposite side of it. And then the citizen continue to express, a kind of mistrust. So we are hoping that the new INEC chair, is going to build on some of the successes of his, predecessors, because there's also going to be a huge challenge for him if he create some of the positive, reforms introduced by the previous INEC leaderships.
Well, it appears that he doesn't intend to do that, because one of the things that the Mahmoud Yakubu-led INEC was commended for was the introduction of technology, the focus on introduction of technology, even though at the end of the day, the technology seemed to have failed or not to have under-delivered, so to speak. But he did say that he intends to continue with the deployment of technology, even including drones. He made quite a number of promises. He wants to audit the system to find out what exactly happened with IREV and BVAS. He says, I will have to audit it if I'm allowed to, or if I'm perhaps given the job. But maybe that was subject to his confirmation. So quite a number of things that he's promised in that regard. But I'm wondering, since we can expect that he will be sworn in before the Anambra elections, how much of this do you think he will be able to bear on the Anambra polls, or do you think that that is already done and dusted and there is very little that can be done in that regard?
So, with regard to the continuation of technology and to apply properly for the Anambra election, it will be extremely difficult for him to succeed, except there's a cooperation from the National Assembly and from the executive, because we need to legislate, we need to ensure that use of technology, compulsory use of technology is mainstream in the electoral law. Otherwise, you will, end up with what, the Supreme Court has given us now, virtually, making the technology, the innovation that have, introduced as like an option. So, but we want to make it to be really part of the electoral process, that anybody that comes will have to make use of it. So now that he comes, I think it should be part of the prioritization of his agenda to ensure that the National Assembly help to work to ensure that they make the use of technology mandatory in our electoral process. So I will commend him if he is able to pursue that, get all the necessary stakeholders, the political parties, the National Assembly members, the executive, and even the civil society, as well as the support of Nigerian people, because he needs the public support to succeed. If Nigerians suspect that he is not going to do that, then they will begin not to participate in the manner that they should. Because if you look at the pattern of the voter turnout, is decreasing, and if you can stick and ensure that the use of technology is done, I believe many Nigerians will participate in the process, and it will be more transparent, more accountable, and many Nigerians will believe in the system. Right now, the suspicion is that people believe that once you have loose money or you have dirty money, you can plumb into the system. First and foremost, you have political parties that are not really, real political parties in the sense, in terms of their, party primary election. People with the dirty money, they usually take over the scene. People who have power, like ministers, governors, presidents, they determine and dictate who becomes, the candidate or the party aspirant, So this is also something that we need to change if we want to restore that confidence on Nigerians, because we need to reform the political party system in Nigeria. There's no internal democracy because there's no ownership in the political parties in Nigeria. People don't even pay their membership due. So it is only governors, president, and other people with the dirty money that decide and dictate who becomes even councillor, even local government chairman, governor, Senate, House of Rep. It is a clique of some people. So platform of political parties now, it is just simply used to, bring in whatever they want. No internal democracy, no contestation.
Well, Mr. Rafsanjani, the truth of the matter is we can actually have a whole seminar on internal democracy within political parties, and I'm sure we'll have a lot to say. If we dedicate a whole day, there will be a lot to say about our political party system in Nigeria. But I'm still trying to focus on INEC, which has a responsibility to regulate these political parties. It's unclear how much influence it will be able to wield on making sure that political parties are as democratic as they ought to be. But then he also talked about what the commission itself needs to do internally to hold people accountable. One of the things we've seen in recent times is that people, commit offenses on election day, do things that they ought not to do. They are well documented, their names are known, the things that they did wrong are very well known, yet there's very little that can be done about them. We see people trying to, will I say, yeah, bribe INEC officials. We've seen people buying votes on election. That these people's faces are seen. But, you know, security agencies will tell you we can only arrest if we're told by INEC to arrest. And INEC says, look, we cannot add that to what it is that we're doing. It's going to be too much. So he has made a case for the Electoral Offences Commission. How far do you think that they're going to be able to go pushing for that? The fact that there needs to be accountability and consequences for bad behavior.
So, luckily, this is part of Waste Report's, proposal, and this is also part of the civil society organizations that we have been pushing for, this, reforms in the electoral process. Because usually, when you have these, offenses, the state attorney general has to, prosecute that kind of person, has to cooperate. But in most cases, it is the ruling party. If the ruling party members were the one that perpetrated that offenses, it is difficult for the state attorney general or even for the federal government, security, guys to do anything. So there must be a total mind change in the way and manner in which some people are carrying these offenses with impunity, simply because they belong to, either at the state or at the federal level, they belong to ruling party. And when you belong to the ruling party, you appear to be untouchable. I think there's need to change that. If the security agencies, can look at issues, beyond just being loyal to the president or to the governor or to whoever party member that is powerful, if they just pace their professional work, they pace the nation, I think we will be able to minimize instances of this thing. And if also there's a deterrent, because part of the challenge is that there is no deterrent. People just do this and they get away with it. So if the INEC chair this time around can work with relevant agencies, because the truth is that he alone or INEC alone cannot be able to successfully deal with this issue. So there's need to collaborate, there's need to work together with relevant government agencies to also ensure that the political parties, they caution their members. Civil society have been deploying resources to educate, sensitize Nigerians to ensure that they carry out non-violence participation in the electoral process. But of course, civil society is overwhelmed. They don't have, that much resources everywhere in the country. They don't have that human resources and financial resources. So therefore, the responsibility is actually on the government to ensure that people, behave responsibly. Political parties, they must also preach to their members to behave responsibly. Otherwise, you will continue to sabotage and undermine this aspiration that the new INEC chair want to put in place.
Let me quickly chip this in, this issue of whistleblowing, which he says that is one of the things that he hopes they can roll out so that Nigerians are more involved in the process and can out officials within the commission who, would want to do anything untoward. You have overseen, I will not say you've overseen, but you've seen how a policy of government in that regard, the whistleblowing policy, and you're very concerned about issues of corruption and transparency, at least here in Nigeria. How effective do you think that this sort of policy, should it be introduced in INEC, will be? Or what, shall I say, what needs to happen to make such a policy effective if it is deployed by INEC?
Thank you very much. The challenge that we have is that INEC, as it is now, the staff of INEC, the official of INEC, many of them are also party interests. Some of them, they are agents of some political parties. Believe me, some of the INEC, staff. So they directly and indirectly help to undermine even the effectiveness of INEC itself. You also have already card-carrying party members as commissioners in INEC, which also, again, creates concern with all this data is happening, it will take the courage of the new INEC chair to ensure that at least he decisively deal with the saboteurs within the INEC, saboteurs of electoral transparency, saboteurs of ensuring that even the logistic is actually addressed, the logistic challenge that we keep on experiencing in this country, challenge. So I am saying that reforming the internal mechanism in INEC is number one priority that he has to, give attention to if he wants to succeed. All those people that are alleged to be agents, of some people outside the INEC work, he need to actually reassign them, or he need to even get rid of them. That's number one. Number two, you also need to work with the necessary stakeholders to ensure that this idea of the whistleblowing succeed. Because civil society and international observers, all the elections that have taken place from 1999 to date, they have been documenting and providing some of these instances, but nobody bothered to work with them to ensure that they correct those issues. But if the new INEC chair want to prioritize this, I think we will commend him, and we will see that he succeed in that, because this is part of the reason why many Nigerians stop participating in the electoral process, because they lose confidence in the whole process. So to restore that confidence, you need to have certain system and practices that will guarantee Nigerians that it is not going to be business as usual. And if the whistle is blown, there should be action. We should not just have a system just for the sake of having the system. It must be operationalized. And when people violate those things, there must be consequences. Otherwise, it will not reduce the impunity in the electoral process. So I commend to focus on that.
Mr. Rafsanjani, let me take you up on this issue of the presidential pardon, the exercise of the prerogative of mercy, which has caused ripples in our country. CISLAC, the organization which you head, has written to decry the conviction, saying that it could significantly undermine, well, this is in respect of the pardon that was granted Mr. James Ibori, which you say is beyond the constitutional powers of the Nigerian president. You say it could also significantly undermine international legal cooperation, particularly in the areas of anti-corruption and narcotics control, where Nigeria relies heavily on foreign intelligence. Well, your organization is not the only one that has responded. Mr. Femi Falana, SAN, has also responded, saying that the president should withdraw the withdraw the list and review it. And just this morning, yesterday this was released. This morning it's out in the public now. That the presidential prerogative of mercy exercise is at review stage. It says none of the people who have been given clemency has been released from custody. This is the response of the Attorney General of the Federation. He says it is important to note that the last stage of the exercise, after approval by the Council of State, is the issuance of the instrument for the implementation of the decision concerning each beneficiary. This stage affords an opportunity for a final look at the list for remedial purposes, if any, before the instrument is forwarded to the Controller General of Corrections for necessary action. He underlines that this verification process is part of the standard protocol and reflects the government's commitment to transparency and due diligence. I think that the Attorney General also thanked Nigerians for their vigilance and constructive feedback. Do you find this comforting? Do you think that there is hope that perhaps indeed all of the concerns that have been brought up as a result of this list released, do you think that there could be an actual review that will answer the many concerns raised by Nigerians on the cadre of people pardoned by the president?
Yeah, well, so even though we know the Constitution gives the president the power to exercise um, such kind of exercise, but definitely in this case, there was no proper consultation, there was no proper reflection on the consequences of such kind of action on certain category of people that the government has offered those kind of pardon. First, some of the people listed, they are very dangerous to the nation, and that will create serious reputational problem or additional reputational problem for our country. And then again, the government did not also know that you cannot even do pardon on a case that you have no any jurisdiction over. The case of James Ibori, he was tried in in a different country, and Nigeria did not participate in that process. So you cannot pardon what another country has done. There's limit at which you can do that. Secondly, some of the people, they are saboteurs of the nation resources, revenue. Some of them, they are killers. Some of them are drug, people that have been destroying young people in Nigeria as a result of their activity. So there's no any way, if government has reflected and consulted, that will have granted, pardon to such kind of, serious offenders. I think what the president, in my opinion, could have done was to say that not to pardon them, to say you have erased the entire crimes that they have done. If someone is serving maybe 10-year jail, you could probably reduce it to, even if it is 1 year, you can have that power, but not to say that that person is no longer, being seen as someone that has committed any offense, in this country. Because the person, if you call him or her ex-convict, can sue you to court. And shamelessly, some of them are already coming to begin to do political thing, despite the looting that they have done. Because they have no shame, they think Nigerians are foolish. So they are already coming to say that they are going to be doing some political activity. They should be completely banned from holding public office because they have betrayed and they have actually abused the law of the land. So that's why we advise the government, and I want to thank the Attorney General for listening to the cry of Nigerians, including CISLAC, to say that okay, we are going to review the list because it has a serious implication internationally. Nigeria is relying on international intelligence from our international partners for cooperation, even on assets recovery, on dealing with drugs and narcotics. And then now suddenly you say these people who are high profile, criminal, as it were, you now say that they have no case, they don't have any problem. Whatever political support that the government was looking from this individual, I think the country is more superior than the personal political interest that they would probably provide to the whoever that pushed for this thing. And many Nigerians were even alleging that because all of the lists, most of them, they are actually, big men and women who have big money in this country. Many Nigerians are even alluding or alleging that they probably did the usual thing that some people do in this country. So therefore, I think if we are to look at this in with all sort of seriousness, we should first and foremost look at those Nigerians who have committed small offenses and they have been languishing in correctional center for 10 to 20 years on awaiting trial. Because those ones, you are actually making them to be hardened criminals, by putting them with even bigger crooks and criminals in the correctional center. I think president should prioritize those people who have already spent substantial number of years awaiting trial, and they have not committed, murder. They have not committed a serious offense. Some of them, they were, taken because they criticized state governors, policies or government policies. They just bundle them because the country judicial system is such that, the poor people are always the one that, will be victimized. We need to see how we can advise to review these kind of powers that the president has to ensure that there should be consultation and looking at cases based on merit without jeopardizing the country, reputation. Because I tell you, if you do not review this list, the international community will further isolate us. They will further continue to see us as a country supporting coups and criminals. This is not what the government of Tinubu should be happy with. That is why we are happy that the government agrees with the civil society that they will review the list and ensure that it is not pardon they should pardon to some category of people. It should be maybe perhaps it should be clemency, because there's a difference between pardoning and clemency.
All right, Mr. Rafsanjani, some people will say that perhaps that's why the list, talking about checks to the president's powers, perhaps that's why it has to go to the Council of State. But we hope to get further clarity, since the Attorney General says that the list is now going to be under review. I think at the end of the day, Nigerians will be owed a final list of those who were actually approved and those who perhaps did not scale through, even after it went through to the Council of State. But we have to thank you for your advocacy and for your thoughts on the confirmation of the new INEC chairman. Thank you for sharing them with us. Mr. Alma Musa Rafsanjani is the Executive Director of CISLAC and is also the head of Transparency International, and joined us from New York. Thank you once more.
From Washington, D.C. From
Beg your pardon. From Washington, D.C. Thank you so much.
I'm currently attending IMF World Bank annual meeting.
All right.
We are also economic issue for Nigeria and Africa.
All right. Thank you so much. And we wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much.